Hey, what is up, guys? My name is Rob Hood, and you're listening to the newest episode of Rant On. I know it's been a couple weeks since my last episode. I've been feeling a little under the weather, but I'm feeling a lot better now. And let's just jump right into it this week. Actually, before we do that, I wanted to just make a couple comments right here. I see you guys might be able to see the shirt I'm wearing. It says Voyage Family Chiropractic. And let me tell you a little bit something about this. This is not a paid ad. This is not a sponsorship. I just wanted to wear this so you guys could see it and basically say that if you need a chiropractor, you should go to Birmingham, Alabama, and go to this place, Voyage Family Chiropractic. It's one of my really good friends. His name's Dusty Nickram, or Dustin, if you want to be formal. But guys, go in there if you have some back issues, and he'll fix you right up. He will. He's incredible. Not only is he a good friend, but he is one of the smartest people I know, and he's really really good at what he does as well. So you need a chiropractor, you're in the Birmingham area, go to this guy. But anyway, let's jump right into it. We went 1-4 last week, moves us to 15-13 on the year. Pretty rough last week, but I think we are starting to thin out the herd a little bit in the world of top teams in college football. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about the games last week and the teams that played in those games last week. We're going to talk a little bit about my power rankings from the difference between the power rankings between last week and this week. And then we're going to end things here with a little bit of NFL talk. And I do think I'm going to redo the structure for the podcast. I do believe that 2 episodes a week might be a little bit better. 2 shorter episodes, maybe one to recap the weekend of everything that went on, and then another one later on in the week to recap what happened in between the episodes and looking forward into the weekend. That's my idea anyway. We're going to test it out. I told you guys we're going to be testing a lot of things and all that. And I'm really excited. So let's see. 1-4 last week. Like I said, not good. I saw a lot of losing on the field and in my bank account. And I really thought the first one I want to talk about today is Arkansas and Georgia. We took that as an L last week. I really thought Arkansas could cover on 18, but they did not. Georgia looks really good. But I really thought they were going to hang with them. Instead, Georgia really looks like the one, maybe 2 teams that could get dethrone Alabama this year. But here's the thing, guys. You've heard the saying, if you got 2 quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback. That being said, Georgia's playing just fine with both of their quarterbacks. What's crazy is that they both have over 500 yards passing this year. What's even crazier, though, is that Stetson actually has 500 yards on almost a half of the attempts as JT Daniels, the original starter. That's great and all, both of them having 500 yards in the season so far. But the scary thing about the scary thing about Georgia is their defense. Basically, over the last 2 weeks, nobody's scored against them. They've gone 8 straight quarters with nobody allowing any points for Georgia. And they've only allowed 23 points the entire year. So basically, if you average that out between every game, they're averaging just a little bit less than 6 points, 6 points a game that they're allowing. Now, can they beat Alabama? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see for the SEC championship. I do think both of them will play. We're going to get into a little bit of SEC scenarios later on in the show. But let's get through these games first. Next game we got up last week, that was actually my only win, was Michigan and Wisconsin. I had a feeling Michigan would cover. I don't know why that they were the underdogs in it, but I guess, Vegas is still learning, still pretty early in the season. But I think we learned that Michigan's here to play this year. And like I said, they were only my win. They were my only win last week, and I'll be following them closely betting wise the rest of the year. Last week they weren't even in the top 10, but I think that they deserve it at this point. I mean, it was a good win against Wisconsin, a really good win against Wisconsin, really. And they may have struggled a bit with Rutgers over a couple weeks ago, but that's part of it. Sometimes it's really hard for teams to come out hot against some of the weaker teams. Not that Rutgers, is a weaker team, but they're no Michigan. But here's the cool thing. So Michigan plays Nebraska this week, which I think is going to be a really, really big test for them. mainly because it was a test for Oklahoma. Oklahoma nearly lost that game against Nebraska, and I think seeing what Michigan's going to do against Nebraska is going to be interesting, to say the least. So, but why is that? Well, because I mean, Nebraska's defense is still really good on the season. They haven't allowed a whole lot of points. Michigan's only coming out as a -3 in -3 favorite, and I like that so far. But like I said, I'll have my weekend bets later this week for you guys, and I'll detail all this a little bit more. But I think this is a little bit scary for Michigan. Like I said, they almost lost against Rutgers. Well, not really almost lost, but it was a close game against Rutgers a couple weeks ago. And Scott Frost in Nebraska can pull some things. They can pull some things out of nowhere, and they can surprise you. I really think the defense shows up for Nebraska, but we'll see how it goes. Next game, though, we lost was Cincy and Notre Dame. And guys, if I'm being honest, I just have no idea how to bet on Notre Dame this year. I really don't. I've bet for them. I've bet against them. I've lost mostly every single one of them. But here's the thing. Here's a good thing. Vegas has too. So nobody really knows what Notre Dame's deal is this year. I don't know what their deal is, but I really wanted somebody to expose them. I really didn't think that they were elite coming into the season. Maybe a little bit better than last year, but still not elite nonetheless. Did I think it would be Cincinnati that was going to be the team that exposed them? No, I did not. I really kind of thought Cincinnati was going to lose this one. But apparently they're here to stick around. They needed a solid win in order to have a chance to make the playoffs, and I think they may have gotten it last week, especially depending on how well Notre Dame does the rest of the year. Let's see. So, not to mention, forgot about this. Cincinnati's also 3-0 against the spread this year. So, I mean, go ahead, bump them way up in the rankings. I bumped them up to number 5 in my power rankings, and I'm going to continue to watch them this year just because apparently they don't lose against the spread. And I think Cincy's got a good chance here. They control their own destiny. If they go the rest of the season without taking a loss anywhere, I think you're going to make a pretty good argument for them to be in the playoffs. And it's going to be an even harder argument to put in somebody else over them. But that's why I'm not on the committee. I don't make those decisions. But, next game, Oregon, Stanford. I thought this one was really surprising, probably the most surprising out of last week. Oregon was just straight up a disappointment last week. I was really high on them. They let me down. But what's most of it disappointing, though, is the fact that they have a really good team. Like, I think Oregon's still really good. I don't think that they should have lost this game. I don't think that Stanford's a better team than Oregon. I don't think Stanford's bad, but they're no Oregon yet this year. But and I really thought that Oregon was past letting Stanford upset them. But here we are. I mean, this has been happening. I mean, it's a tale as old as time. I mean, I can remember being in college at Alabama, and there was one year, I don't remember if it was either 2011 or 2012. I'm not entirely sure. It was one of the two, but Alabama was on the outside looking in. We did want another national championship, obviously, but we were on the outside looking in. We may have been 5th or 6th even in the rankings, and I really didn't think that we were going to have a chance to play in the national championship that year. And if you guys remember, it wasn't playoffs back then. It was back to the old BCS system. But so, even 10 years ago, I mean, I think Oregon was number 3 or number 4, and they ended up losing to Stanford. And I think it was Oklahoma that we needed to lose. But anyway, OK State also won that day. That was a great day. And then, Alabama acted like they won the national championship that night just by being able to get into it. But like I said, guys, I mean, here's the thing. Stanford's been upsetting Oregon for years, and should I have seen this coming? Maybe. But I really thought Oregon had it figured out. Guess they didn't. But let's see if they get it back on track this week against Cal. I will say this about Oregon, though. It might be time to take a look at quarterback. I realize that Anthony Brown is a 6th-year senior. But here's the thing, guys. He's got a career completion percentage, or 55% career completion percentage. That's a tongue twister. But here's my point, though. If this guy's a 6th-year senior and he still hasn't made it above 55% completion percentage, I don't have high hopes that this guy is going to figure it out all of a sudden. This guy's been here for 6 years. He hadn't figured it out yet. And I don't, like I said, I don't have high hopes that he's going to. So I think maybe going forward, it might be time to take a look at that backup. might be time to see what he's got, because Anthony Brown, while he might get the job done most of the time, 55% completion percentage is not going to get it done the entire year. And Stanford showed us that. If you complete only half of your passes, it's not a good look. But like I said, maybe a win against Cal this week will get him back on track. So here are my power rankings for last week. I will say that Alabama, Georgia, Arkansas, Oregon, Iowa, and then 5 through 10 was Oklahoma, Penn State, Ole Miss, Cincy, and Notre Dame. Now, a couple things to note here. Oregon moves back to number 8 in our power rankings. Michigan makes an appearance at number 8. I officially put them in the top 10. I also put OK State into the top 10 at number 9. Ole Miss is out of the top 10 for now. And, if they can win the rest of the season, they're a fun team still, regardless. Lane Kiffin's amazing. He's an amazing coach. Super high-powered offense. I don't see them dropping a whole lot of games the rest of the season. So keep an eye on them as well. But that about does it for the games for last weekend. Here's my next thing is going to be the Rant On section. It's going to be my rant section, but a little bit of a twist on it. I'm going to do SEC scenarios, quote unquote. It's a new game that I want to play every few weeks just because the SEC usually beats each other up. And sometimes by the end of the year, we need tiebreakers and tiebreakers on tiebreakers and everything else to figure out who's going to play at the end of the year. It's happened before. It might not happen this year, mainly because Georgia and Alabama are just straight up on a collision course here, folks. It is just two trains about to collide not about to, but at the end of the season. But let's play some scenarios here. Like I said, we've been through this before. Even last year, Florida pulled off an upset against Georgia last year and made it to the SEC championship. So hypothetically, what if that happens again? Could UF pull it off? It'd be pretty hard to with 2 losses now. But they came within 2 against an Alabama team. Now, and that Alabama team was riddled with mistakes in the second half, but they still made it within 2. On paper, at least, it was a close game. So if Florida beats Georgia, unfortunately, I think Georgia's going to have an even easier path to the playoffs, because at that point, they're only going to have 1 loss. And if Alabama wins the SEC championship, Georgia doesn't make it, but they only have 1 loss. It's going to be hard for me personally. It's going to be hard for me not to put Georgia in there. Your only loss is to the people that made it to the SEC championship. So, it's still a hell of a year. So, well, what if Georgia wins out? Well, they're obviously in. Alabama would be too, though, assuming that their only loss is in the SEC championship game. So the only scenario I could see Georgia not getting in is this. Georgia loses to Florida or Auburn, one of the two, and they lose in the SEC championship game. That would put them at 2 losses, and that would be pretty hard for me to put them in over an undefeated Cincinnati or a 1-loss Iowa or something similar to that effect. Another scenario here, and I'm not going to be very serious about this one, but we're here to have fun, right? We're here to have fun. What about Kentucky, Rob? Well, Kentucky is undefeated. They are 4-0. They are in the East. If they were to run the table, they would obviously be in the SEC championship game against Alabama. Do I think that's likely? No, but hypothetically, let's talk it out here. If they somehow did, and let's say they make it to the SEC championship, lose to Alabama in the SEC championship, then you're going to have an undefeated Alabama, a 1-loss Kentucky, and a 1-loss Georgia at the end of the season. So it's going to be pretty difficult to not put all 3 of them in there at that point. Now, what about on the opposite side? So let's say Kentucky gets there. Let's say Kentucky just runs the table on the entire SEC the whole year. They get to the SEC championship. They beat Alabama. So now you have an undefeated Kentucky team, obviously going to get in because they're SEC championship or the SEC champions, and they're undefeated. You have a 1-loss Alabama, and you also have a 1-loss Georgia, who both have looked incredible all year, right? So, again, it's going to be really hard for me to throw in Cincinnati or Iowa or somebody above these 3 teams strictly because of the caliber of these 3 teams. Well, the hypothetical caliber, of course. But, it's possible, guys. It's the SEC. Anything's possible here. Do all 3 of those get in that scenario? It'd be pretty hard not to. but we'll see. I mean, here's the thing, guys. At the end of the day, Alabama's going to be in the SEC championship. And nobody in the West is going to stop them. Ole Miss was probably our best chance, or probably their best chance of beating Alabama. There's a pretty decent matchup this weekend for the Alabama game. And does Jimbo Fisher pull it off? No, I don't think he does, but it's possible. That anything is possible. But given the rest of Alabama's schedule, I really don't think anybody has a chance. LSU looks weak. Arkansas was destroyed by Georgia last week. Auburn could show up just because, it's Alabama, Auburn. I don't think that Auburn has what it takes to beat Alabama, though, and I really don't think A&M has what it takes to beat Alabama either. So if you take all of them out, I mean, Alabama's got the easiest schedule to make it to the SEC championship. But I guess we'll see, guys. All right. So that concludes my rant on section about SEC scenarios. And I might do ACC next week. I might do Big 12. You never know. Yeah, let's have fun with it. But moving on, NFL talk. What all did we learn from this weekend? Well, Jaguars still suck. And after this weekend, it will continue to not be good. Urban was just an absolute waste of a hire. And I never wanted him in the first place, and I still don't want him now. I mean, especially after this whole debacle, it's just embarrassing. And let me pull up just a list here of things that I've just pointed out since Urban has been hired. So Urban's first matter of business, was to hire somebody. So he hired one of his old coaches from Ohio State. That guy, long-term racist, hired him anyway, came to Jacksonville, fired him a couple weeks later. Why? Well, because he was racist. Yeah, well, no surprise. I mean, we already knew that. We already knew that this guy had problems at Ohio State, but Urban said, he'll be fine. It'll be okay. We'll just, let's hire him anyway. He's my guy. He's my dude. We're good. Stupid. All right, so next he signed Tim Tebow as a tight end. We sold some jerseys out of that. Made a little bit of money, sure. But released him a few weeks later. And not to mention, so next, what he did, he drafted Travis Etienne, when we already had James Robinson, who is a stud. Not to mention, later on, Urban Meyer admitted that he wanted Kadarius Toney instead. Well, you had your chance, bud. I mean, you're sitting there 25th, 26th overall. Toney goes right before you, and then you pitch a little hissy fit and you draft Etienne just because you're like, oh, well, Trevor Lawrence and Etienne, they're gonna be good. They already know each other. They're gonna be good. They'll be fine. We don't need a running back, but whatever. Maybe we'll line them up at wide receiver every now and then, see what happens. Whatever. All right, sure. So let's say that maybe that one wasn't that bad of a decision. But next. So then he proceeded to say something about the vaccination status about the players at Jacksonville. Later on, that led to an NFLPA investigation. Cool. Really cool. Good job, Urban. Next, he acted like Gardner had a chance to start this year and gave him half the reps over the course of training camp and everything else. Took all those reps away from Trevor Lawrence, only to trade away Gardner for a 6th round pick a few weeks later. Like, what are we doing here, guys? And then after that, this list could go on forever. I mean, I don't know. Could. Let's just see. And then next, his decision to trade a 9th overall pick for some trash in return. Sure, we got a tight end back. Yeah, 5th round. Sure, he's worth it. Sure. Yeah, tight end, whatever. Yeah, sure. We pick up a couple guys for a 9th overall pick who was having an incredible year and was obviously one of the best players on defense. But whatever, that's here nor there. I'm not the coach. I can't make these decisions. If I could, maybe we win some. But, whatever. So next. So then it was quiet for a little while. Oh, just kidding. No, the 9th overall pick and all that crap happened a couple weeks ago. And then you guys, I'm sure, have seen this already, but he didn't travel back with the team Thursday. And then later on, there's a video come out of him sticking his fingers up some 20-year-old's ass. Like, straight up, 2 fingers right there. I mean, it's just embarrassing. Like, what are you doing? You're like a 55-year-old coach. You're married. I don't. Your team. The rest of your team is in Jacksonville. Like they left. They're gone. They're not in. They're not in Ohio. They didn't stay in Cincinnati after that loss. But Urban did. I don't know. I mean, what do you do at this point? Oh, and then so after that, so he canceled the team meeting Monday to deal with the backlash from the videos coming out. And then while he was dealing with it, he didn't even apologize to the players on like a personal basis, as a group. He picked and chose. I'm gonna apologize to a couple of these people, and I'm gonna apologize to this group over here. But the players, I'm gonna just tell them some bullshit, and like they'll just whatever. So the whole locker room is laughing at this guy, quite literally. Like they literally laughed when he walked out of the locker room after his quote unquote explanation of what happened. And is this the biggest collapse of a team like ever? Probably is, because I'm just so over it. I am over it. It makes me not want to be a Jaguars fan anymore. I'm still going to continue that because I'm loyal, but something's got to change here. Like when Shad Khan bought the team, I was pretty excited about it. Thought this guy's made some pretty good decisions. Then he let his son start taking a few things over here and there, and I was like, okay, we get some young blood in here, cool. But this guy has no idea what he's doing. Nobody in the Jaguars whole entire organization knows what they're doing. None of them know. None of them know. And it's just embarrassing. It's just sad too, really, because we had the number 1 overall pick. You got Trevor Lawrence, who was supposed to be a franchise quarterback. The people on our team are not bad. It's just everybody that surrounds them are a bunch of idiots and dumbasses. And it's just, you surround yourself with a bunch of idiots. Well, then the whole organization is going to act like a bunch of idiots. What a joke. Let's just move on. So the Jets won a game. The Jets can win a game, but the Jaguars can't. I don't see the Jets coach, hanging out, hooking up with 20-year-olds in a bar in a college town. I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening for any team. But anyway, Jets won a game. Good for them. Against the Titans, though, at that. So the AFC South basically is just anybody's this year. Because the Titans are losing to the Jets. Houston's getting beat 40-0. Jacksonville doesn't even know where the damn head coach is half the time. And you got the Colts, who actually won a game last week, but Miami hadn't been good at all without Tua. Miami has looked like absolute trash without Tua. And while I'm on the Tua subject, I'm just going to say this. I knew Tua was good, right? I knew he was good. But I will say, I don't think I realized how much value he added to the team, because you take him out, this Miami team is completely different. They don't hold a candle in these games. They are getting just destroyed by everybody. So Tua, I hope you get better soon, buddy. On the other hand, Buffalo, quite opposite of the AFC South, has shut out 2 teams this year. So they're pretty scary. Even Mitch Trubisky got in on the action last week. I think he ran one in with probably 2-3 minutes left to go in the fourth. And I think that was good to go up 40-0, I believe. So, if Mitch Trubisky can score for the Buffalo Bills, then I just don't know what the Jaguars are doing, but whatever. All right, so I got a hot take for you guys. I think the Giants could possibly make the playoffs this year. Did I just say that? Did I? Yeah, I think I did, because here's the thing, guys. They're figuring things out slowly. Like, Danny Dimes is not bad. Kenny Golladay, solid wide receiver. Kadarius Toney is an incredible rookie. And if he continues to shine, they'll be fine. They got Daniel Jones has got options. Saquon's coming back and looking great. He was probably arguably the reason that they won last week, going into the fourth quarter and overtime, had a reception touchdown and a rushing touchdown. And I thought looked basically 100%. But we'll see how that goes. I do think. If you're going to bet on it, I think the Giants could. And my over under for them this year is going to be right at 8.5. I think they could have 8 or 9 wins. It could go a little bit either way, but I think right there, that 8.5 mark is what I'm looking at if you're going to bet on the amount of wins that the Giants are going to have the remainder of the year. It's just going to kind of depend on if Galladay can stay healthy and Kadarius Toney can continue to shine. But if they can, I think the Giants could be a wild card team for sure. Another great team this year so far, Cardinals. Cardinals, their only undefeated team in the NFL left, and Kyler and everybody else are torching everybody. Speaking of good coaches, that's the one I wanted. But whatever, I don't make the hiring decisions for Jacksonville. All right, guys, I'll quit talking about it. I'm sorry. I don't expect Cardinals to go undefeated this year, but Kyler's doing his best to prove me wrong. It's just that whole team has got a bunch of studs on it, and their defense looks pretty good. And they had a great win against the Rams last week, who up until this point have also looked great. They're going to be an interesting team to watch this year. I like the Cardinals, and I think Kyler could probably be a top 3 quarterback this year, if not top 1 in fantasy. What else did we learn this week? Matt Nagy's still an idiot. If Andy Dalton's the starter, or if Andy Dalton's healthy, he's the starter, which I truly just don't understand. But whatever. Like I said, not a head coach for a reason. But by the way, guys, this was a big game. How about the Bucs and the Patriots last weekend? That was exciting. I mean, Tom Brady got the record for passing yards in the first quarter of that game, even, and for him to do that in New England after previously leaving New England, obviously. It's just something divine there. It was just some sort of divine intervention for Brady to be able to get that record back in Foxborough. And I think the people of Foxborough really enjoyed seeing that. And I really think that it was a good welcome back for him. You see some of the videos. I really thought after all the memorials to Tom Brady, I was like, wait, did he die? Like, what happened? But he did not die. He is still Tom Brady. If you thought he was going to lose going back there, then you're crazy. You just haven't watched him ever, apparently. I will say this on the other side of the ball, though, on the other side of the field, I guess, really. Mack Jones looks incredible. Mack Jones is here to stay, too. Mack Jones had 19 straight completions, which was a rookie record. The dude's looked pretty good so far. He's minimizing mistakes. And, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but there is a thunderstorm going on right now. So if you hear some thunder and some rain and some lightning, well, just ignore it. But Mack Jones, here to stay, guys. He is elite. They have found what they're doing with him. It's just basically a bunch of quick passes, a bunch of slants, a bunch of dump offs. They haven't really let him sling it yet, but I think when they're comfortable with that, y'all watch out, because Mack Jones he's gonna be scary. Last one I wanted to talk about for the weekend, though, was the game that made me the most mad and lost me money. And that was the Raiders and the Chargers. I bet the over like an idiot. But, between lightning delays in a dome that was $5 billion to build, I don't know. There's a little bit of questionable things happening in that game, But I'm not going to use that as an excuse. I still think the Raiders are a very good team. I still think the Raiders could win the division, but right now the Chargers are looking really good. Chargers might be the team to beat in that division because, I'll say this, guys, at the end of the year, it's going to be close because you're going to have Oakland and KC and the Chargers in here, and they're all going to be within a win or two of each other. So this is going to be an exciting division to watch the rest of the season. But, that'll about do it for this week, guys. We're going to do some changing around with the podcast times. Like I said, I'll probably go to 2 a week, one where we review the weekend, one going into the weekend. I think that's a little bit better of a layout, maybe. But we're going to, it's just all a big test here, and we're having fun with it. But yeah, I think that's going to be a better layout. Hey, don't forget to follow us on social media, by the way. Both Instagram and Twitter are at Rant On Sports, RANTON Sports. Feel free to subscribe to us on YouTube as well. Click that button below if you're watching on YouTube. And guys, by the way, so I'm still in the process of making a website. It's very difficult, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into it that I didn't realize went into it. But in the meantime, guys, check out our other articles on Substack. You can just go to rantonpodcast.substack.com, subscribe there, and if you subscribe, you'll get an email for each of our new articles when they come out. So, but guys, until then, that's going to do it until I get everything on the website. That's probably how we're going to do it. But until then, guys, want to appreciate it. Again, shout out to Dusty at Voyage Family Chiropractic. Oh, and by the way, shout out to Trucking Partners for officially being my first sponsor. I needed a sponsor for a little bit of the software that I use, and they were able to pick it up for me. So guys, thank you for that. Guys, check them out. They're really just an all-encompassing trucking company without trucks. They do the sales, they do the brokerage, they'll even do the factoring for you and the paperwork behind it. So guys, if you need a factoring company, go for them. But anyway, guys, like I said, that's going to do it. Check me out next week. And thanks, guys. Thanks for listening.